number one mistake that learners make when they speak Portuguese and how to fix it. Have you been learning Portuguese for months, maybe years? You've watched hundreds of videos, maybe on YouTube or Instagram. You studied with apps, you found different kinds of content, and you maybe even take a course, and you felt that you learned. You understand the grammar, you remember words, and you feel that you have some level, right, in Portuguese. And in my case, I teach European Portuguese, so although this applies to different languages, I'm going to be speaking specifically about European Portuguese because I am a European Portuguese teacher. Olá, I'm Sara, I'm from Lisbon, and I'm here to help you enter the Portuguese world and help you have the best life possible in Portugal with Portuguese. Okay? So we are going to talk about this topic of speaking. And most often what happens, people feel they struggle with speaking. They may know the grammar, the vocabulary, but when the time comes to speak, well, that's a different story. Maybe if you are in a classroom, you feel more comfortable to speak, but not in the real world when you actually need it, right? So that's a problem that we are going to be addressed. When it's time to actually speak and put into practice everything that you have been learning, which means to have a real conversation with a Portuguese person, you freeze. You freeze. And you feel insecure. You don't know how to structure sentences, where the words go. Maybe you feel too stressed and nervous and then you forget words, right? Or for example, you don't know what conjugations to use, although you understand them in theory. And I understand that's very frustrating. And let me tell you, it's not your fault. Okay, and that's the solution for that, and you're not alone. You're not the only person in the world learning a foreign language, learning European Portuguese. Okay? The good news is that there's a proven solution, and it's not that new. Neuroscientists have known this for years, and it's called error feedback. Error feedback. And if you use it right now, the right way, every day, even just for a few minutes a day, you will become fluent and confident in spoken Portuguese. And what I'm going to do here is to explain how. Okay? So, first thing, the difference between speaking and conversing. One thing is talking, other thing is speaking, other thing is having a conversation. All right? Most learners think speaking is just making sounds in another language. But true conversation is different, actually. It's a dialogue, you speak and someone responds. And it's not just about the language, it's about the hand gestures, the background, if you already know something about that person, about the context, about the culture, everything. And when you get responses, your brain starts noticing what? What works, what doesn't, what sentences native speakers use, and how to react, how to sound natural. Over time, what happens? Over time, your brain builds a library of expressions, pronunciation patterns, sentence structures, and your confidence grows. So you need to think about building this library of expressions, not just by reading a book, reading a grammar book, but also in this speaking environment, in a conversation, because you only know how native speakers really sound if you listen to them. Even more if you are inside that conversation, in that environment. Okay? But we have an issue with this, right? If I just say that you need to be in conversations, you need to be there, to see when native speakers speak and have a conversation. We have an issue because what usually happens is that you are not using Portuguese often. And when I say Portuguese, using Portuguese, I mean living your life in Portuguese, which means be in real life situations, interactions. You never know what you actually can or can't say if you don't try, if you don't put yourself in a situation when you need actually to speak with a native speaker. When you go to your grocery shop and you speak Portuguese with people there. When you want to buy a t-shirt and you go to the store and you ask for your size. When you make Portuguese friends and you, instead of just using English, you ask them, how was your weekend, in Portuguese, and you receive the response in Portuguese. These real life situations. So basically, if you are living your life in English, what you need to do is to start living your life in Portuguese. Whatever you do in English, start doing in Portuguese. You don't need to change for 8 to 80. You can do it gradually, but now I want you to realize that you need to increase the time living the language, not just being in a classroom, not just studying, not just reading a book or a grammar book or searching words, looking for words in a dictionary. You start to living it. Be in the Portuguese world, okay? But you feel that you are stuck in this. And how can you get unstuck? Let me ask you something. When you speak your native language, do you think about grammar rules before you talk? Of course not. You just speak. You're just living your life, right? Why? Because you've had hundreds of conversations since you were a kid, every single day. So in your language and or other language that you may speak fluently, you already have this library inside of you of the language. Even if you don't realize it, if you are a native speaker and you speak according to the rules, you speak correctly, even if you don't know the rules, you cannot explain them, you have them inside of you. Okay? There are two things that we know. Sometimes we know that we know. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. We don't know. For example, if you are learning Portuguese and you know this tense name is, for example, pretérito perfeito. That's the name of the tense in Portuguese. And you know that tense in Portuguese. If you ask a random Portuguese to conjugate a verb, conjugate this verb in this tense, probably they don't know. They don't know how to conjugate it. Because they know how to use it, they don't know this. They don't know that they know. You know what I mean? But with Portuguese, because Portuguese is a foreign language to you, right? Maybe you only speak once a week, or only in class, or maybe not at all, especially if you are introvert, shy, if you feel that people are going to judge you, you don't want to look silly, especially if you struggle with this, it will be even if more difficult for you to speak, to practice speaking, because you have, for example, you don't have enough opportunities to speak, and or you feel shy, you are introverted, you are scared of making mistakes and sound silly, etc. This doesn't help you at all. So just by this you can see that in order to learn a language successfully and being fluent at it, you need to have other skills that are not really just related to the language. For example, being able to be courageous, be brave, and make mistakes. Okay, I'm learning. Let me try say this in Portuguese. I know that probably I'm going to make mistakes, but well, I'm learning. Are you able to do that? Are you able to do whatever it takes, regardless what people are going to think about you? So that's a skill that you need to train, to practice. Okay, just like any other thing that you are learning. If you're just starting, you're not going to be great at it. So let's say that you are starting learning paddle, and you don't want your friends to. Let's say you have a friend, and your friend is also starting learning paddle, or has been learning paddle for a couple of months or years, and you're just starting paddle now. Maybe you don't want this friend to see you learning because you think that this friend is going to laugh at you. But overcoming this mindset, this feeling, will help you a lot in life. For example, in learning languages and be able to practice, because you only get better if you practice, and if you don't practice, you don't learn, and you are avoiding speaking because you're not good. But if you're not doing it, you're not getting better. So what are you going to do? Do you really want to learn Portuguese and do whatever it takes to actually achieve your goals? So really think about it, okay? What's the solution? Well, you have to speak a lot. Not just randomly, not just in class. You have to speak in a way that gives you error feedback. Okay, let's talk about this error feedback. What is error feedback? So error feedback, it's this idea comes from a book. The book is How We Learn by the French neuroscientist, and I'm going to try to pronounce the name correctly, Stanislas Dehaene. Okay, and he writes about 4 pillars for deep learning. Attention, first one, attention. Second, active engagement. Third, error feedback. And fourth, consolidation, which involves repetition and also good sleep. All right? What we are going to focus here now is on error feedback. Because when you speak and make mistakes, you'll find some very interesting things. Okay? When you make mistakes and your friend, your Portuguese friend, and your teacher, your tutor, or even ChatGPT corrects you, it's not just to say, oh, you made a mistake, you are wrong, you need to improve. It's not just to point, haha, you did a mistake. No. The mistake, when you know that you just did a mistake, this gives you important information. Once you speak, you are in a real situation, a real conversation, you are using Portuguese in your life, and you make a mistake. This tells you what you forgot. Because sometimes we learn, we understand the explanation, we got it, we think we remember, but when the time comes to use it, and in Portuguese we call it hora H, the H hour, hora H, when time comes to use it, you may forget it. So this way you can be sure if you really remember it or not. Second, what you don't know. When you are in real life with native speakers, having real interactions, living your life in Portuguese, you'll find things that you just don't know, right? New vocabulary, new things. And this way you know that you don't know. And if the same things happen, the same patterns appear over and over again, and you still can't understand how natives are using, for example, a certain word, that tells you that this word has been coming often, is important for that reason, and then you need to pay attention to it. Okay, so what you don't know. By making mistakes, you know what you don't know. And also, let me give you another example. Let's say that you use a grammar tense to talk about something. Because in your language, for that thing, you use this grammar, this verb tense. But in Portuguese, it's not that tense, it's the other tense. And then someone tells you, this is a mistake. So probably you didn't know that in this situation, you should use this tense and not the other tense. But now someone pointed at you, and now you know. Maybe it's something that you never learned before, but now you know because you made a mistake. And someone told you, this is a mistake and this is the correction. So now you know. Third, what you need to learn next. What you need to learn next. You know, when you make mistakes and you see that there are things that are not correct, you realize, I still struggle, for example, with nasal sounds, because every time I say a word with a nasal sound, it seems like, or I know, because my Portuguese friend told me, that he doesn't understand when I say a word with a nasal sound. So this I need to improve. This is what I need to learn next. Okay? This is great because instead of just learning random things, you are learning what you need to use in your life. Okay? I hope that makes sense so far. Because this is how real progress happens. And if you think about all this process that we have been talking about, this is like being Indiana Jones. You know Indiana Jones, right? The movies. The Indiana Jones goes in different kinds of adventures. He explores jungles, looking for monuments and artifacts and all these different things. He needs to explore, and he sees himself in very unpredictable situations. So when anything that you do in Portuguese, you need to have this mindset of explore, because you don't know, you are uncovering Portuguese. And because you don't know Portuguese, you don't know exactly what is going to happen, how grammar is going to be, how difficult a certain grammar topic, for example, is going to be. So you need to explore and be ready for things that are unpredictable. So this means that when you are learning a language, you need to explore, experiment. Let's try. Like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones wants to go to a certain place, but this place is hidden in a forest, in the jungle. Well, should I go left? Should I go right? Let's explore. Just like the Portuguese. You don't know exactly how to do it, but you need to explore. And for that, of course, a teacher like me, for example, helps a lot. You need to be ready because it's going to be unpredictable. You don't know the jungle. Indiana Jones doesn't know the jungle. You don't know exactly how Portuguese is, but you are getting to know Portuguese as a language, how it works. So, explore and be ready for whatever happens. That's the adventure. See learning Portuguese as an adventure. But let's go back to our main topic, which is speaking. Why must people avoid speaking? Well, there's actually a common trap. People think they have to practice with a native speaker or teachers, but they feel afraid. This is something that I just said a little while. People don't want to feel stupid. And sometimes they just don't want to be corrected in front of someone, right? Our brain interprets that as emotional pain, as a punishment. So we avoid it at all costs. We associate the correction of a mistake to a punishment. So we avoid making mistakes. But if you want to making no mistakes at all in Portuguese, there's just one way. If you don't want to make mistakes in Portuguese, you just don't speak. You don't speak. If you don't speak, you won't make mistakes. But if you don't speak, you will never speak Portuguese well, and you will never achieve fluency. So this means that if you want to be fluent in Portuguese, have a conversation with Portuguese, you have to speak. And to speak, you need to practice. And practice means that you're going to make mistakes. And making mistakes and practicing means that you are improving, right? So you need to start seeing mistakes as something good. Because if you make mistakes, you learn. But feedback should never feel like punishment. You should feel safe. The feedback should be in a safe way, given in a safe way, kind, helpful, and frequent. Very important, frequent. That's why you need to be an environment where there is no shame, mistakes are welcome, and corrections are clear and gentle. All right? For example, in my classes, no matter the class, no matter if it's a conversation club or beginner class, intermediate class, this for me is very important. You can make whatever mistake you need to do that you want. Just let it go, let it flow. This is what I tell my students. Let it go, let it flow. Okay? Mistakes are welcome and I will correct you. I don't feel anything negative about you making mistakes. It's just, oh, you're making a mistake? Okay, I see it. I understand why. Let me help you. So that's how I feel about helping my students when they make mistakes. Okay? No judgment. Okay? And how can you get feedback? Being, for example, in a class like mine, okay? Or speaking and asking for feedback to a friend that you trust, okay? Because even though this friend may think that you are funny, but he or she will be kind and will be helpful with you, okay? And if you feel also if you feel uncomfortable with this person, although this person is nice, you can open your heart with them and say, I know that you're kind, I know that you want to help me, but I'm feeling this way. So this is very important for a good communication, because we cannot read each other's mind. If you're feeling a certain way, tell them, because maybe they really want to help you with Portuguese and they feel they're doing things the right way, and they don't realize that they maybe they are doing things that are making you more nervous or more pressured. So open your heart and tell them your opinions, what you think and what you feel. And if you like to be in a safe environment where you can make whatever mistakes you need to make and there's no judgment, you are in the right place. I have Portuguese classes, different levels, and also conversation clubs. And if you want to improve your speaking and understanding of Portuguese, you are in the right place. Send me a message. And the key to do this, you make the mistake and you receive the feedback. The key is that you must produce the language yourself first. Don't ask ChatGPT. Don't ask Google Translate. Don't ask your friend. Don't ask your teacher. Do it yourself first. First you try yourself and then you ask them. You need to try it. You need to make mistakes, and that's how you learn. Okay? Because if you're asking, for example, if you're asking your teacher, you're asking your friend how to say something before you even try to say it, then this whole mistake process of receiving feedback is not going to work. You need to be using your own sentences. You are speaking Portuguese, okay, with your friends, for example, with your teacher, okay, and then they will give you feedback on it. If they tell you how to say things in advance, then probably it's not going to work, right? Of course, I'm talking about the practice when you are living your life. I'm not talking when you are learning things for the first time. Then there's no way you know how to say things. Okay? You have been studying, you have been learning, and when the time comes for you to use what you have been learning, okay, just do it. Okay, and you use Google Translate later. You ask your friend or your teacher later, but first, do it yourself. How are you going to really know what you forgot, what you don't know, and what you need to learn next? If you are sabotaging your output, if you are sabotaging your speaking, because before you speak, you were searching words and you were asking someone how to say this, how to say that. Okay, so for this strategy, this technique to work, and for you to really know and receive, for you to know that the feedback that you're going to receive is the one that you need to make mistakes. Okay, I hope that was clear. Let me know in the comments below if it was. Okay, so the process is you speak based on what you know. So do not cheat. You are speaking. It's like an exam. You cannot look up things in your book. You have the sheet of paper in front of you. You have the exam. You need to have things memorized, right? You need to know things. So when you're speaking in a real conversation, to speak the way you know, do your best. Just later, if you want to use Google Translate or asking someone for a better word, then you do it. Because the only way the feedback is going to be useful to you is if your speaking is authentic. Do not cheat. Okay? And in real life, when you want to have a conversation, you cannot be always, oh, wait a minute, let me search this word, I don't know how to say. Yeah, you need to know how to overcome these moments. And you will learn how to do this by practicing, by speaking. Okay? So, produce Portuguese first, speak first, okay? You need to try, you need to make mistakes, and that's how you learn. If you do it, then your speaking will be authentic. It will reveal exactly how your speaking skills are, and this way the feedback is going to be way more effective. And there's something else that I would like to tell you. You don't need a language talent. You don't need to be a genius. You just need neuroplasticity, and you already have it. Neuroplasticity, Sarah. Yes, your brain is capable of learning at any age until the very last day of your life. You've already learned, for example, to walk, to cook, to write. Probably you didn't remember it, but learning how to write is very difficult. It takes a very long time for a kid to learn how to write. So why wouldn't you be able to unlock fluent Portuguese? You can. You just need the right method and you already have it. So repeat after me. Try, make mistakes, get feedback, integrate, and repeat. Try, make mistakes, get feedback, integrate, repeat. Do this every day and I promise that your spoken Portuguese will explode with fluency and confidence. If this helped you, subscribe for more strategies to unlock fluent natural Portuguese. And if you want a complete training to understand fast spoken European Portuguese with real natural Portuguese, and finally feel at home in Portugal, check my Understand the Portuguese course. Is the first link below in the description. Ciao!